Hello, Namaskar and welcome to Sikkim Chronicle. Well, today we bring you here at Atal Incubation Center at SMU Majitar, which in fact is under Niti Aayog. And let me tell you that this is the place where ideas are germinated, where the startups are given mentorship, and of course, business models are discussed and designed. Joining with me today in this edition is Dr. Tej Chingtam, who in fact is the CEO of Atal Incubation Center SMU. And Dr. Tej Chingtam has been the first Northeastern face to be inducted as the member in National Startup Advisory Council recently. And this is in fact a huge achievement for the people of Northeastern states. We'll be having many discussions in terms of his induction in the council, and of course we'll be talking about the objectives of the Incubation Center AIC. Dr. Tej, many congratulations first and foremost. So it's been almost like over the month that you have been inducted in one of the prestigious council which discusses the idea about promoting the startups, especially in India. So you have been that phase from the Northeast. How would you think it would help way forward, especially in terms of encouraging the entrepreneurs from the Northeastern states, and how do you take this induction as in?
First of all, thank you Sikkim Chronicle and thank you Nimal for taking out time to be with us today and to understand what we intend to do or what we try to build around here. At the outset, it is very important that we have to look at this not from the perspective of Northeast alone, but if you look at the entire country as a whole, we take pride in saying that we are a country of 140 crore population. That's about 1.4 billion population that we have, out of which you will be surprised to know only 50 crore population lives in the urban area. The remaining 90 crore lives in rural areas. So much similar to the kind of lives that we live in the Northeast. So what we need to do is we need to build an inclusive growth for people in this region so much as is important for the Northeast. So it is a larger chunk of the population that has been underserved and that requires to come to the mainstream. And as India dreams about the 5 trillion economy that we talk about, as we look at it, we have to grow beyond this 50 crore that is working in the urban areas, but we have to uplift all those people who are living in the remote areas as well. And that is a very important component that needs to come into picture. And that's one of the many reasons why we have a council like this. And this is the second appointment of this council, because the first term was appointed in 2020 and it got over recently, and we are inducted into the second phase of the council. And this council basically comprises of a lot of people, industry stalwarts who have been there, done that, and people like Ajay Chaudhary, who is the founder of HCL. We have Devjani, who basically is the president of NASCOM. They know, they have been working into this domain. And we also have young founders like you have Nitin Kamat from Zerodha. All these people coming in, bringing in a lot of knowledge into it. I think from the perspective of what we have understood from the Northeast is something that is, I think, equivalent to the underserved region in the other part of the country as well. So we wanted to bring the ideas that we have learned, the learnings that we have had in the grassroots level when we are trying to work in this field. That is what exactly the government is interested in trying to understand, so that they can form better policies so that you can reach out to the grassroots level. That is what it is with this particular council.
Exactly. So when we talk about the AIC here, it's been almost 5 years of journey, right? Yes. And you started with a scratch, making people understand what exactly is the concept of the incubation center is. Now looking back, how do you see the journey of AIC SMU TBI?
Okay. Nirmal, I will look at it as some kind of, that's what they use, connecting the dots that I would see. 2016 is when we started off, me as a personal basis. I come from academics. I'm an accidental CEO. I was never intended to be a CEO of an incubator. But unfortunately, what we wanted to do was, from an academic perspective, we were trying to see what needs to be done to have the inclusive growth of region like ours. When we did that, I think you remember when Sikkim Chronicle also started in 2017. A year before that, we were on the ground trying to understand how it works. And then we created an event and tried analyzing the entire Northeast. And then only we came into the market, we started creating this incubator, the thought process of incubator came in. Because prior to that, we need to understand, do people actually need an incubator? But having said that, when we look at it, when we look back at it, we still require more incubators, we still require more accelerators. India today, despite being the third largest ecosystem in the world after US, China, and India become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Despite it, the number of incubators that we have in India is less than 1,000. And out of this, properly functional, I would say it is less than 500. And we're fortunate that we have a couple of them in the Northeast. And as far as my knowledge goes, on the official record, I think there are 23 of them. I do not know how many of them are actually really functioning. But despite it, what we have built with this 500 odd incubators to come to the third largest ecosystem is something worthy of mentioning. And we feel that there should be more ecosystem players coming in. There are places in places across the country, across the globe. There are places where there are talks of building venture studios, which is something beyond the accelerator and incubator. But we are still behind in many ways when it comes to ecosystem building. So therefore, when it comes to the ecosystem building, we started off early. But having said that, we are still struggling to reach where we want to be. And but having said that, I will not say that we have stopped doing it. We are on our way forward. In this context, if I may tell you, we have had investments happening, which technically happens in the mainstream part of the country always. It has always happened in Bangalore and Mumbai, and these are places which happen. But now investment taking place in a small place like ours, in an incubator, a small incubator like ours. Last year alone, we have invested close to about 1.2 crore rupees on the Startup India Seed Fund. We have invested close to about some 25 crore rupees with various investors putting together in the last 3-4 years. So I think this is our achievement that has come in. We are also in talks with various other venture capital and institutional funds to make sure that investment happens in this region. Otherwise, these investments have always been confined to places in larger cities. We have negotiated the way forward, and we have tried showing them that there are innovations happening, there are startups happening, there are challenges and problems being solved in this region for the people around here, and therefore I think there is some clarity around it, and people have started coming in. I think there is hope that we will see more in the near future as well.
So could you tell us as of now till date how many entities have been incorporated or been associated with your AIC?
Well, we have till now, in the last 5 years, we became operational in the year 2019, so to say. We became an entity in September 27, 2018, but we became operational in the month of May 2019, and that's about 4.5 years. And we had some pandemics. I don't want to blame the pandemics again and again. We're out of it already. So in all together, we have initially started with about 14 startups in those days, in 2019, and now we have touched the figure of 52 odd figures that we have supported in this incubator from different states of Northeast, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
So how do you assess the performance?
See, it takes time for any startup to grow. As we all see, every product, every startup, if you call a startup as a product of one of the venture building, if you look at it, every product, everything has a life cycle. So when we talk about the life cycle of it, there are 4 phases to it. The first one is what you call an introduction phase, where you introduce it to a set of, to an ecosystem, to a market, to a set of people who wants to make use of that system. So that is an introduction phase. Then the next step is about growth phase. It gradually grows. It is a trajectory growth that grows up. Then finally, from the growth stage, it goes into a phase where it goes into a place called maturity, where it stabilizes itself, and then it has a place in the market. It finds itself a position, a certain set of respect, as well as people's likingness, as well as awareness of that particular product. So that is the maturity stage. And after a certain point, you will also agree with me, everything has a period to decline, and that's a phase where it dies down. So the intention of an incubator, accelerator, or any of this program is to ensure that the growth stage is shortened and then increase the growth stage and reaches the maturity stage very, very fast, and remains in the maturity stage for so long as possible, so that it remains, if possible, forever. That maturity stage to last forever requires something known as innovation. That's exactly what we need to do. You must have seen many of the big companies innovating with new products. For instance, we talk a lot about Kodak and all this, those normal films and the camera that we talk about converting to digital. This has been a story that's been going around. But what happened was some of them, included themselves into the innovation. and then they convert it into the digital world, and then they survive. So all this happens. So those innovations are something that is necessary if in case you want the sustained growth for things. So likewise, when we talk about a startup, it goes through the entire phase like this. So this is exactly what we tell the incubatees or whoever startups come get associated with us, saying that these are the phases that you have to go through. You jump one of them, it's not going to be possible. It's not easy. It's not always about money. You put money and then you jump from one to other. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's a process, and I feel, the process is, we are at a very early stage. We have just introduced, and we are at the gradual early growth stages where I project myself.
Exactly. I think I'm being reminded of Nokia, how it failed to adapt with the new technology, and that with the other competitors, because they failed to innovate or accept the new ideas, especially in terms of the telecom. And this is what exactly you are trying to talk. So let me tell you, because the concept, especially for the entrepreneurs here, is that AIC is a place where you go, you pitch your idea and you get the money. So but I think that is much more beyond what we think. It's about mentorship. It's about helping to restructure your thought process, and of course to help scale your venture. So have you ever been come across through this kind of incidents or experiences where the AIC has been totally misunderstood as a funding agency, straightforwardly?
Nirmal, I will not deny it, nor will I say that it has happened, but it's like a situation where it is a plain taken for granted that any organization for that matter, if there is a support system, the first thing that we want is money, and that organization should provide money is the thought process with many people. And I do not deny that completely, because that is a very important component of any startup or any venture to grow. So having said that, money being a very important component of it, there are other processes that needs to be put in place before we actually look at money. Say if you look at many of the startups, there are startups which have bootstrapped, did not ask money from anyone, and went on to become a unicorn. We have seen many of that, and there are multiple examples to that as well. So what I'm trying to tell you is, it's not always about money, but it's about making things right. And making things right is the first thing that we have to put in place. Say for example, if I am selling something, and if I'm not legally correct, if I have not taken the certification, I'm selling food and I have not taken the right certification for it, I could land up into trouble just because the food created some problem, or something else could have created a problem. But since I don't have the license for the particular food that I have manufactured or sold, probably this could create a problem. So these understandings are the first step that needs to be looked at, and that incubator is a place to look at what are the requirements. Having said that, let me put this again very clearly and put my point across very, very clearly. It is about, why we do this is because most of the people who are coming out, as I was telling you, the large chunk of the population being in the underserved region, and because of that, they generally do not have the experience of business, because it is probably some of them being, I would say majority of them being the first generation entrepreneurs. So they may not have the guidelines, they may not understand the guidelines, the guidance, the proper guidance to speak to, the proper support that they need. It's not always about money. Suppose if you have money, you want to start something, give a large chunk of money, probably the business may not be successful all the time just because you have money. But it is the right process, the right ingredient that is always necessary to make sure this works. And the incubator is a place where you get all of it. When things are right, then we would also need to understand, even for raising fund, we have to know what type of fund is to be raised when. Many times we get confused, say that, I should go for a loan, I should go for a grant, I should go for equity dilution. There is a process and there's a time when you should be raising what type of fund. So in a very early stage, when I'm making a prototype, if I take loan, probably before I can sell this product, I would have spent all the money, and before any money comes, I'll be liable for EMI already. And my product is still not in the market. So do I go for loan? Do I go for grant? Do I go for something else? This needs to be identified properly. And these are things that needs to be, simplified, and the process needs to be identified properly. And those mentorship, the requirement for all this guidance and guidelines are available when you come to the incubator. That is what makes it easier for any business to grow.
Okay, coming to unicorns, there has always been this debate about the penetration of the unicorns, especially in the rural areas and of course in the northeastern region. Now you have before this shoot, you have told me about this funding a winter. How do you think these unicorns has been able to perform in the northeastern region specifically?
Well, currently, there are two things into it. When we talk about unicorns, the basic uses like, to penetrate into all these areas, I think a little bit of technology is something that will help reach faster that we have always seen. I don't know if you have read about it, the UPI payment system that we have, the GPay and the Paytm that you have. You'll be surprised to know in 2022, it crossed almost about 700 billion transactions, which crosses the entire transactions of MasterCard. In all its lifetime. So India did that by penetrating UPI. You can have GP when you buy vegetable, when you buy sabzi, saag on the road, you could use a Paytm and then you make the payment, GP, you make the payment. That is being done and penetrated at the remotest possible thing. So technology penetration has happened. So this is the fastest way to grow using a little bit of technology, and smartphones are available almost with everybody. So probably to reach out to this larger mass that I was talking about, the 90 crore population that we are talking about, those are things that is necessary. And when we talk about the unicorn, you might be surprised to know that they talk about unicorns and they have always been confined to the larger cities. But look at Paytm, it entered into places like us, which probably we never felt unicorns would come in. Now we have Zomato coming in and delivering food for us. We have, many of this technology enabled, not necessarily always about technology, but the technology enabled services coming into our remote locations and helping them grow. Therefore, the unicorns have definitely earned dividends from this demography that we have, a very large, widespread demography that we have. But having said that, can we also build something like this from our problems that we have in the Northeast? Can it also be scaled? And that is, of course, the answer is definitely yes, because we have 6 crore population in the Northeast, approximately about 6 crore population, and that caters to the whole of Northeast. 8 states of Northeast comprises about 96 districts, if I'm not mistaken, out of the 804 districts across the country. So out of that, if you look at it, 96 districts are in the Northeast. Likewise, many of these districts are basically in the rural areas, and these districts comprises of 85% of the population in the remote areas. So that is exactly where the whole game-changing thing is going to happen. And all these people face some problem or the other. It is the startup and the entrepreneurs who can actually serve these people. And 85% of the population who lives in this region, basically, paying to you and becoming a unicorn will not be a challenge, because if you are solving their problem, they are also ready to pay to you. That's exactly what comes.
Okay, so let's talk something about the artificial intelligence. You have done your PhD in robotics, in fact. So tell us, how important it is for the startups and the ventures, or the business model to adopt the new technology of artificial intelligence, and how easy it would be to perform in the business.
Well, there is a typical perception that is, that is being formed around the world, that, I've been often asked that once AI comes, probably we're going to lose a lot of jobs. And I think the same process happened sometime in the 90s when IT revolution came to India. A lot of people felt that, once IT comes, we're going to lose a lot of jobs. A lot of youths are going to have jobless, they're going to be jobless, they're going to have unemployment will be a challenge. But unfortunately, the prediction that happened then has suddenly changed. Today, the largest employer, one of the largest employers is the IT industry.
Yes.
So this could be a game changer if you look at it positively, and if you make sure that these are things that are going to be the future. And we cannot deny that. AI is going to be the future. We cannot deny it. So in simple terms, what AI basically does is redundant works, the work that can be repeatedly done, may no longer be done by humans. So that is where we need to upskill people who are constantly working on the same process again and again. If I'm doing the same process again and again from the morning till evening, probably this can be automated. AI can come and replace those kind of jobs. So those are things that need to be worried about. Other than that, those worries are not there. That is first thing. The second thing that you talked about, the penetration, is artificial intelligence makes it a lot easier for us to penetrate into places which is otherwise difficult to see. For example, we have startups working with us. We have been supported, fortunately, I don't know if this has ever gone out, but there are 4 incubators across the country where Meta has invested $2 million in India. So we are one of the incubators in that. Out of the 4 incubators in the country, we are one of them. For Eastern India, we look after the entire XR projects of under the startups for Meta. So we supported startups. You'll be surprised to know that places which is inaccessible, you could actually sit in Mumbai or you could sit in US and actually visualize it on your VR machine or your VR set, and then you can see how it looks like. Then again, you can plan, you can set a list of itineraries. You want to go to the north, because if you want to come to Sikkim, for example, the simplest example is if you want to come to Sikkim, you cannot visit Sikkim in 10 days. You need more time than that. But I have limited time holidays. When I come to Sikkim, I'm going to take leave for 10 days, 15 days. That's a duration that I'll be coming in. So I can actually prepare which all places I want to visit, make an itinerary. The AI will help you to build the entire itinerary, including the cost factor for you. So you just need to build an AI. Say, see, these are the places I want to go. I want to go to Canggu, I want to go to North, I want to go to Gurudongma. These are the lists that I prepare, and I want to stay in Gangtok, I want to stay in Pelling. These are things that will be prepared, and it will give you a cost accordingly. You pay for it, and then the AI will make sure that the driver is waiting for you. Nobody's involved in it. These are a simple example which we can easily do. So there are repetitive processes that human beings have been doing. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but there are startups who are building around in this lines as well. So these are going to make a lot of things easier. The earning will become easier. The earning will become substantially larger as well. That is what I feel in terms of AI.
Exactly. So remotely located AIC SMUTBI must have set of challenges in the course of 5 years. What were the core challenges which you think AIC SMUTBI has presently?
Well, to be very honest, this remote locations provides an opportunity as well as a challenge. It all depends on how we look at it. We've always looked at the Northeast as a very isolated location, and because of which we face challenges every day. But if you look at it on the positive side of it, every problems that we face could be converted into a venture and could easily be converted into an enterprise and could be generating revenue out of it. So that is one thing that we would like to look at. So an organization like AIC, when we are located in a place, not even in Gangtok, in a place like Rampu, which is again some 35 odd kilometers from Gangtok, when we are located here, despite it, we have all our challenges to visit here, to come here. But the ones who are serious about it, those who are very serious about it, who really want to build ventures, have been staying here working with you. I think Sikkim Chronicle has been one of a very great example of this coming out of here, because what I'm trying to tell you is, when there are seriousness about building things, I think there is nothing to do, there's nothing much to worry about being remote or being in the urban area. It's about the seriousness, the passion that is required to build, the grit that is required to stay on in the project, saying that, I need to build this. They're building those dreams. Those are more important in the first step. The second thing is, being located in a remote place gives you a lot of learning. The challenges that you face, which you may not face in places like Delhi or Mumbai, which we face here. And we know this can be converted into an opportunity again. So converting this itself brings in more learning for us, and there are more opportunities being created than residing in the urban areas, is what I feel. So similarly, in being located here, we learn the hard way that, all the mentors, all the people have to come here physically all the time was something that we always felt, and it's going to be a challenge traveling. But fortunately with the COVID, it gives us a lot of learning. We could learn all this online. That they don't really need to travel. A lot of things learning happened. The difficult pandemic, the challenges that we had converted into an opportunity where we can meet each other online.
Exactly.
Which has happened. I think you don't have to travel to Delhi every day. You can, small little discussion, you don't need to, physically be present. We do this virtually, which is again, learning that we have had out of this. So I think these are things that we can add values to it.
So what is the way forward for AIC SMUTBI? What next?
Well, from the perspective of the incubator per se, and from the perspective of, from the larger perspective of how people look at it, I think we need to contribute a little more, especially from this region. We ourselves, the people who are residing in this region, the younger generations, educated younger generation, or for that matter, the youths. I think it comprises of, 25 years. I think 50% of the India's population is below 50, and 65% below 35 years of age. I think that works equally in all the regions in the country. So we have a larger segment of youth, demography of youth who are basically, either going to look for a job, or either they are about to look for a job, or they've just entered into the job, or they are about to build, ventures around it. So what is important for them to understand is that, from here, going forward is they are the backbone of the economy of the country. It is not government jobs, or it is not some small contracts that they do.
Jobs,
Yeah, those are not going to actually help the growth of the country, and nor for their own community or for their region. It is the venture that they build. They're going to employ more people in their venture, in their own locality, and they're going to uplift their own society, is something that we would like to look forward. And this is something that we want to encourage more people coming out from all this 90 crore population that I spoke to you poverty in the very beginning. Those people, a few of them, few youths coming out of this and then changing the scenario of it. We want to change this 90-50 ratio to, we want to make it maybe 10 and 130 is the ratio that we want to make in the population of 140 crore that we have. So that is what we look forward to. And I think we have all the more reasons because we are located in an ecosystem which is remotely located, and we have better chances of building this. And every venture that is built around here will contribute to this 90-50 ratio that we just talked about.
Exactly. Dr. Tej Chingtam, they are strongly advocating that entrepreneurs would play a very, very pivotal role in accelerating the economic growth of the country and as well as the states, right? So thank you so much. Is there a ending note which you would like to share to our viewers?
Well, on the last note, from the perspective of the council that I've just recently joined, what we are of interest is we have always talked about inclusivity. And when we talk about inclusivity, you would also agree with me that most of the time we have confined our inclusivity in terms of gender, right? We said, yes, we have always talked about gender. Nothing wrong in that, but I think we also have to include the geographical inclusivity as the next point, because I would like to have more inclusivity of all the geographies come together and then make sure that the growth is, an overall growth happens, not just in terms of gender, but also in people located in various remote areas come together and contribute to the growth of the country.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Tej Chingtam, and congratulations for your induction as a member in the National Startup Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
With Ashish, this is Nirmal for Sikkim Chronicle.
Get all the credible news on the go. Download the Sikkim Chronicle app.